Okay, welcome everybody to elect. No, that's not elect. That's TELE 3013. All right, so our course is TELE 3013. Okay, and it is called structured cabling. Okay, so here is our structured cabling course. Now, structured cabling course, what are you going to get out of this one? You're going to get the basic knowledge on, so that would allow you to expand properly if you want to pursue your career when it comes to infrastructure, wiring and cabling business and installation of various equipment. Mostly it would be networking, data networks. That's the bread and butter of today's business when it comes to structured systems. That goes also with sound systems, PA systems, telephone systems such as VoIP, voice over IP telephone systems, and anything that needs wiring and connections. So that it's not just a wiring; it's also a little bit of a setup. Now with the setup, you can go as far as you want. If you want to go further with networks setup, I would encourage you to look up some of the networking courses or something like IT courses. And I can, if somebody is interested, I can certainly help you with choosing the right direction of how to go about it. Now, as far as me saying that the network or the cabling, structured cabling, is like a hidden gem within today's industry. I'm just going to ask you some time when you have time, and it's not going to be on the test. Just go on Google Maps or something and just go and view any part of town from the bird's view and see all those buildings. Now, those buildings are going to have hundreds of thousands of cables that had to be connected. And here's the beauty of that. If you go to something like maybe like a financial district in Toronto, where there's a lot of business high-rises, commercial buildings, that's where all the wiring happens a lot. And somebody has to install those the wiring, somebody has to remove that when, let's say, one client moves out releases a floor and there's another client comes in to occupy that part of the floor or the whole floor. All the wiring has to be removed and all the new wiring has to be installed, and all that has to be done properly according to the industry standards. And you know what? Somebody has to do it, and there is money in it, right? So that's what I mean by hidden gem, because there's a lot of work. If you know how to do this, what I'm going to show you in this course, if you get comfortable with this, you are going to be as busy as you want. All right. So just get a little bit of a erasing thing happening here. Okay. So by just that little kind of a preamble speech here, we're going to jump into the logistics of things. And we do have a lot to cover today. So as I said, get yourself a good coffee or something and let's start. All right, so I'm going to jump into my laptop here. And quite often what I'm going to do is I'm going to read what's on the screen. Also, what's going to happen is these notes that I'm posting on the screen here, they're going to also be posted in the lecture notes section of our class portal. So you're going to be able to download this. And still, if you have any questions, of course, by any means, send me an email, drop me a question, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. All right. All right. So here is the thing. Welcome to that. This is the front page of the announcement here. Welcome to the TELE 3013 21S. 21 is the 2021 summer structured cabling course. In this course, we will cover the theoretical and practical aspects of signal and data infrastructure this blended course, blended means that it's partly online and partly in person. This blended course consists of interactive online sessions, which is the one right now, as well as in-person or hands-on activities, aka labs. We will interact with various equipment. I like the word various, very specific, but you will see. Connecting links, terminals, arrangements, and field technology and practices associated with the signal and data networking systems. Field is a word that is used basically what's happening out there in the world, right? Or sometimes the word field is used as in a conjunction with the other word field wiring, and field wiring would be the wiring that is inside the building. So there will be a main home run room where everything home runs, all the wires home run to the main communication room. And the wiring that leaves that communications room, it spreads out into something that's called a field. All right, so it will be a field wiring. Okay? Now, this is an entry level of hardware emphasized networking course. What I mean by hardware emphasized, basically, well, some people think that this is okay, run a wire from point A to point B, terminate both ends, and there you go. So you know, what's there to learn? There's a lot. Okay, so it goes with hardware setup, hardware installations. It's anything, you know, that I would have to have a whole year or two if I wanted to give you everything that I wanted to give you, but we only have 7 weeks. So so I'm just going to give you as much as possible in a condensed version of that. And then by any means, if somebody is interested in expanding their knowledge, or if somebody wants to pursue the career, by all means, talk to me and I'll point you in the right direction. Okay? So now I wish everyone a pleasant and successful term of summer 2021. All right. I'm trying to look at some of the chat here. So if, you know, I'm just going to talk and present here. And if I miss something, then just speak up. Once in a while, I'll try my best to look at the chat line if somebody has if someone has some questions. Yes, the camera is, I'm filming myself through a mirror, as you can say. As you can tell, this is the hip, as for tragically hip, and it's spelled backwards because I'm filming myself through a mirror. So this is actually my right hand, and this is my left hand. Okay, so there we go. All right. Okay, so let's keep going with this here. Structured cabling, by definition, I just got one of the definitions. Was it by Wikipedia I got, or something like that, or maybe from some YouTube channel. I was trying to find something that suits best the description of. I gotta give you some kind of a definition here. So there it is. It's a planned cabling system which systematically lays out the wiring and wire management necessary for communications, including voice, data, and audio. Now, these three little words, voice, data, and audio, every single one of these words has a world. There's a whole world to every single one of those, and you can go as deep as you want into any of those, or combination thereof. All right, structured cabling. Now, just as some sort of an entry picture, I'm going to show you something that I did some years ago. It's one of the stores that I did. I don't remember which one it is. I think I remember, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to advertise. Anyways, this is a wall-mounted equipment rack, and what we have here on top is the top shelf is an amplifier, so this will be the audio part of that. And over here is the power supply that supplies the intercom system. So intercom is in the form of the telephone handsets that are hanging by the cash registers. So this is all the brains of the intercom system, and this is the power supply that supplies that. Right behind that, you can see some outlets here of wiring outlets with some wiring grommets. And behind that, there's a wall, and in that wall, there are 2-inch pipes that are stubbing out through the ceiling and there are wires running through that. And according to the specifications or the manual that or the instructions sent by the whoever hired us to do the contract, all the wires have to be run in specific pipes in specific way. So that's why you're going to notice that I'm going to put a great weight on you filling out the paperwork. And it might seem like I'm trying to get you to score some empty points. Actually, it is not, because, well, the good old saying that the work is not done until the paperwork is done, it is a very true statement, because you can work for 2 weeks, blood, sweat, and tears, and you're going to get really tired, and you're going to give your time and energy to do that job. But if you don't fill out the paperwork after that, you're not going to get paid. What's happening with the paperwork that is associated with every job is that the paperwork has to be done a certain way. Which ways does it have to be done? Well, it has to be done the way that whoever requests that paperwork, the way that they request that. The reason for that is that most of the time, mostly right now, what happens is that the installations or the contracts are being given, especially in the wiring industry or the installations industry. The wiring or the jobs are being handed out by big, huge umbrella companies. That let's say, for example, there's a big company that services all the Home Depots in whole North America. There's another company that services all the Tim Hortonses in the whole North America, and so on. So when you do a service call or an installation or any kind of work for that company, they have a whole department of people who are sitting behind the desk and are receiving the work orders that are the completion work orders, also known as deliverables, deliverable materials. And they do that day in and day out, and they want this thing, they want that paperwork to be prepared exactly the way they request, because if there's something that is missing or something's not done the proper way, they're not going to spend time on figuring this out. They're just going to reject that. So that's why I'm going to put a great weight of you developing the good habits of filling out the paperwork, and that's basically every lab that we do. We have to fill out the lab report. So why not marry those two things, filling out the work orders and setting up the lab report? Just take these two and make one of that, and still you're going to have the lab report filled out, and you're going to get some good practice on what you might expect when you go into the field or do this for life, for living, or find a job and do this thing for basically at work. All right, we're going to expand on that a little bit more later. So over there, underneath that shelf here, this is a wall-mounted rack. It swings out. There's a hinge here, and there's a lock on the other side. Here's that lock. See that? So over here we can see something that's called a patch panel, and patch panel is a device that embeds or gathers all the jacks, Ethernet jacks, and those wires are terminated on the other side of that patch panel. And over here you have patch panel ports, and from those ports you use something that's called a patch cables, and you're patching those ports into the appropriate ports of a switch, for example, right? So this would be the cameras. There'll be the security cameras here, or surveillance cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cameras, and that's it. All the rest of the panel is empty. And this would be the switch that services the security cameras, right? So that's the top part of this rack. I'm just giving you a little bit of visuals of what we'll be doing, what we'll be working with once you go and find a job in this field. Every single thing I tell you, try to inhale it, try to remember that, try to make notes of that. Now, some of my videos that are associated with the lab demonstration excuse me, lab demonstrations. Excuse me. There you go. What was I saying? Yeah, okay. Some of the videos, one of the comments I got from the students from past months is that those videos are a little bit lengthy. They're a little bit long. My response to that, yes, they're a little bit long because there will be a video demonstrating on how to do a 25-pair cable termination. And I talk about it and I show it for about an hour and a half or so. Well, yeah, the video is a little bit long, but if my response to that is that if you think that this video is too long, I'm going to say, talk to me in about 2, 3, 4 years once you go to work and you actually have to do this, and then tell me if the video is too long. All right, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Right? Okay. All right, so what do we have here? The next thing, this is underneath that switch, that was the camera switch, and then there will be the DVR or digital video recorder, or NVR, network video recorder. Basically, they're the same thing. We have something that's called a PDU. It's a power distribution unit. It's a single rack space right here. And at the back, there are a bunch of outlets. It's just like a big glorified power bar. And at the front, we have a couple more outlets here. That's called a PDU, power distribution unit. Very useful thing if you're working with equipment in the rack, because you're not going to have a bunch of power bars behind that. That would just be unprofessional. All right, over here we have some gateways, modems, and whatnot, and there's that main patch panel right here that gathers all the wiring, all the field wiring that is terminated at the back of this patch panel right here. And then using different colored or length patch cables, those signals from wherever they come, they are being routed to the appropriate devices. There's another switch or managed switch. There's another little sub switch as well. And this looks like it's a gateway here. And over here, it's a Bell modem. So this one here, right away, you can tell that this is a DSL-based system. In that area, wherever it was, that store, they requested a DSL modem. And so that's where, and so the modem is being plugged into the gateway. And the appropriate setup is being done by the IT people who are setting these things up. All right. So with this part of this course, what this course is doing is knowing how to mount these things, how to set this up, how to properly route the wiring, and so on. All right. Okay, so here is just a little table, course information. So this course title is Structured Cabling, course title TELE 3013, 21 summer, 2021 summer. Electrical, you guys are electrical engineering technology, program level 6, nothing big here applied. So that's pretty much, my name is Walter Bach, and I prefer to be called by the last name. Okay, now, once you graduate, you can call me by my first name, but not before that. Okay. All right. Now, once in a while, I'm going to throw in some little pieces of equipment here, and I'm just going to throw in a little bit of information about that. So what do we see here? Can anybody tell me what these things are? This blue circle here and this orange circle here. Wire fish. Okay. Fish tape. Good. What are the differences between these two? One is a steel fish tape, and the other one is a fiberglass fish tape. Right? Where will we use one or the other? Well, the fiberglass fish tape, pretty much we can use in all applications. This steel fish tape is more kind of rigid and well, does last longer, and it can stand a little bit more abuse than the fiberglass. But if you push that in where there's a bunch of wires, existing wires in the conduits, it can actually damage the wires. So that's if you want to have usually the choice of which fish tape to use, with which wiring. If you have a bunch of existing wires in the pipe, And if you want to be careful as not to damage those, this fiberglass fish works a little bit better. It's gentler on the wires, okay? And this thing in the middle here, what is that? Anybody? Any idea? These would be fish sticks. Okay. It's just they're not that much of a, there's not much deep frying going on in there. They're glass rods or fiberglass rods. Okay, so they're pretty much snag and stiff rods that you can couple together. They would be having a male thread on one side and female thread on the other side, and you can just couple them together. And usually you can whenever you have to pull some wire across the ceiling space, so you don't have to pop so many ceiling tiles, you can just pop one and just shove one in, put another one in, and just keep going. You can go to the other side of the room if you need to, or in cases like that. Okay? Now, also, I'm going to talk about some of the practices that are mandatory to use. So you can't just lay the wire on top of the ceiling tiles, but we'll go over that a little bit later. Okay, so these are the three pieces of equipment that with it. Okay. In this course, you will be given an SOW. What does the SOW stand for? It stands for scope of work. This is a terminology that is used quite often when it comes to giving contracts and instructions of how to do the jobs. So, or basically work orders or purchase orders or work orders. So scope of work, SOW, all right? Now let me just turn that thing off here. All right, so scope of work documents and submit the deliverables. And I put a little bit 2 stars here, deliverables. What are deliverables here? Deliverables is a documentation submitted upon the completion of a certain task or a project. So the deliverables is our lab reports, and it's going to be in the form of real world deliverables. Deliverables that integrate the key concept of network and otherwise data and signal infrastructure to demonstrate a combination of your applied installation and systems conceptual and practical knowledge. There's a mouthful here. Read it 5 times, you'll get it. I had to, and I wrote that. All right, so students will approach their tasks with the real world as much as I'm trying to give you as much of that thing here, the real world field concept, and you will focus on performing required work and submitting the documentation. All labs documentation will be in the form of workplace deliverables. This approach will persuade habitual acquaintance with up-to-date industry standards and procedures. Now, those change all the time. Slightly, basically they evolve. Students will be expected to prepare project-related documentations and presentations. This course plan might change according to students' learning needs and or any anticipated disruptions. And we had a lot of that in the past few months, needless to say. And here's a little thing that I throw in here. What is this, guys? Anybody can tell what this one is? You're still learning something. See, I'm giving you the phone jack. That could be used as a phone jack. Yes, it could be Ethernet. Yeah, there we go. RJ45 connector. Oh, you guys are smart. Ethernet jack. There we go. It's an Ethernet jack. Now, you can't see that, but there's a little imprint on this thing here. It says Cat5e or just 5e. So this is a jack that will accommodate the category cabling, a Cat5e specifications. And over here on the side, you have the color code. So whether you are going to use the A configuration or B configuration, and we'll talk about that as well, you are going to use the wires in certain ways. So if you will, so here you can see, I'm not sure if you can see it or not in this Zoom session. There is one A, there's a B configuration. So with A, you're going to see green pair, and it's white, green, and green solid. And over here would be white brown and solid brown, and those wires are going to be punched or inserted into these slots here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on the other side there will be a blue and orange pairs. Okay? So all right, I'm glad to see that a lot of guys are being familiar with some of the terminology here. All right, grading in this course. How are we going to do this? All right, so obviously the whole weight of the course is, we're going to assume that it's 100%. It's a pretty safe assumption, okay, if I say so myself. All right, so we're going to have labs, and we're going to have tests, and we're going to have assignment. There will not be a final exam, right? So labs, we're going to have 6 labs altogether, and the labs are worth 50% of the whole course, right? And because we have 6 labs, every lab is going to be worth 16 point almost 7% of the 50%. And if you do the math, every lab is worth 8.35% of the whole course. Now, by the way, this here, what I'm showing you, it is in the content section of our class portal. And it's right under the course plan. So if you go, well, maybe I can show you. Yeah. Here is our class. I took that picture a couple months ago, no, about a month ago. And so here's our class portal. And if you go into the content section right here, and if you go to course outline right there, click on that, and you are going to see, once it loads up, the second one right here, that's all this document that shows us. I'm just going over that right now, but you can download that, you can print it, you can have it in your folder if you want. Okay. Now, since I'm here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release some things. Here's student items right here, and the lecture post-it notes. So labs you're going to see here, and lecture post-it notes, and I'm going to make those visible and visible. All right, so now if you go there, you're going to see these two PowerPoint presentations in a PDF form. Okay. All right, let's keep going with this, let's get this show on the road, as they say. Shift F5. Just to, can we do that? There we go. We're back into our thing here. All right, so tests. We're going to have 3 tests along our journey here, and each test is worth 13.2% of the whole course. And all the tests together, all the 3 tests together are going to be, or are worth 40% of the whole course. And there is going to be assignments that we're going to complete, which is going to be worth 10% of this course. Yeah. So altogether, if you go totals, labs, 35%, 8.35 each, then tests 13.2% each, and one assignment, 1 of 10% each. 50, 40 plus 10 equals 100%. So if you want to know what is what and what is worth what, then you can go back to that content tab on the foil. All right. All right, theory plan. What are we going to do during this course? We have altogether, we have 7 weeks. This is also in the course plan. So week 1 is from May 3rd, which is well, last Monday, to May 7th. So this is Monday, this is Friday. Okay, that's how I put the range here. So week 1, week 2, week 3, 4, 5, 7. All right. So today we're going to have course introduction, and I'm going to walk you into the first lab that we're going to go do the first lab is going to be preparing the deliverables. Okay? And you can do this at home. That's why usually I do this because quite often the labs cannot download the notes. Oh, we'll look at it. You should be able to download the notes. Well, there might be something that they're working on FOL. Let's try it. Try it after at the end of this course, at the end of this lesson here. Let's see if you got it. Okay, maybe there was some kind of a glitch in the system. I know that they're always improving the IT. There's some shuffling going on there. So yeah, just be patient with that. Right? All right, so today's course introduction. Needless to say what this is about. Now, workplace deliverables, we are going to go over that, and we're going to walk you into the lab. Now, week number 2, this is just a theory. So every Thursday at 3 o'clock, we're going to have that theory here. We're going to take a look at some of the data signals infrastructure and equipment involved and devices. So basically, we're going to go a little bit in more detail about what's involved in the cabling business or installation or infrastructure installation business. Yeah, okay. So more glorified version of that those first 2 pictures of the equipment rack that I showed you, right? And then what else here? And then I'm going to introduce the assignment. And week 2, there's going to be assignment begin. Here's the command. Assignment is like writing a programming code here. Assignment begin. Assignment do. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3 weeks to complete the assignment. And this is going to be basically a simulated version of almost like something like a coordinating a project or learning what's involved in the whole maybe a system installation project. In the last couple of years, we did the VoIP system installation. I want to do something else, so I'm in the process of putting this thing together right now. So we're going to have that thing next week, a week from now, right? And next week here, I mean, the week number 3, cabling concepts. We're going to talk about which wires to use for what and why. All right. And then we're going to go a little bit of a copper and a little bit of the fiber optics. We're going to slightly touch that. So there'll be the hardware installation part, or how to run those wires. There's a little bit of knowledge that needs to be acquired before you damage those cables, because copper is more forgiving as far as physical abuse, but fiber optics or optical fiber, it has no mercy on you. You do something not right, and you can basically damage the whole thing. It's expensive as well. Now, week number 4, network types and network topology. Pretty straightforward thing. We just have to cover that. And we're going to take care of some of the most common situations that you might find yourself in. So we're going to talk about the telephone systems, conventional and VoIP. So conventional telephony is still being used and implemented. And more and more often, you're going to see the voice over IP telephony being used. So basically, it's just like networking using telephones. Well, a VoIP telephone system is just like a little tiny laptop in a different shape, and plus it has a handset. Okay. All right, then we're going to talk about some of the public address systems, PA systems, and on the commercial level. And if we have time, we're going to expand on some of the, well, sound systems as far as sound reinforcement systems. So there will be maybe a church sound systems, arena sound systems, or maybe even stage gear. We can touch on that as well. All right. Then the last week was going to be all about optical fibers, so fiber optics. So we're going to look at the concepts that are behind the fiber optics, and then we're going to talk about the practical applications involved in that, with that. Okay. Now, keep going here. This is labs. These are our labs. Now, first week, we're going just to do one lab, and that's the deliverables. And everybody's going to do that at home. So you don't need to be split into two subsections. Now, weeks 2 and 3, we're going to do two labs, and I'm going to explain how that's going to happen in the next few slides. Basically, we only can have, as of now, maybe things are going to change later, but we have to assume that they won't, okay, because of the COVID related reasons. So we can have only 10 people in the room right now. So we have sections, two sections, and each section is 14 people. So we have to split the sections into two, 7 and 7. So that's why we're going to have to do some gymnastics when it comes to solving how we're going to do the labs. And I have a pretty good system, which I tried last semester, the winter semester, and it works quite well. So each lab session is 2 hours, and during each 2-hour lab sessions, we're going to perform 2 labs, but that is going to involve some work on your part. If you noticed, if anybody looked at the YouTube playlist that I have set up, I already have placed some of the lab instructions. You have to watch those before you enter the lab, because if you don't, you're going to be lost, and it's just going to be pointless. You're not going to learn much. You're going to struggle. So you have to do your part and watch those video demonstrations that I have prepared on YouTube, okay? And I will tell you which ones to watch, or you can pretty much figure out on your own. So each of you is going to see me every 2 weeks when it comes to lab. And every 2 weeks, you're going to do 2 labs. And that gives us about 6 labs, which is basically what we're trying to accomplish even before COVID. Okay? So we're going to terminate the, I was going to say 110, okay? 110 and IDC. What does IDC stand for? It stands for Isolation Displacement Connection. And we're going to go over that as well in the later theory lectures. Then we are going to prepare 25 pair termination on a BIX block. Now, this is going to be an intense lab, weeks 2 and 3. Okay, so make sure you watch these 2 videos on our YouTube playlist. Watch them and familiarize yourself with everything that you're going to need to do, because once we start doing the lab, I'm going to have time to just walk around and give you some pointers, corrections. And if somebody is stuck, I can just go and unstuck you, all right? But you need to watch those videos. Did I say that enough times? I guess maybe I don't know. We'll see, right? Then the next part, next lab was going to be lab meeting. You see, I had to choose some wording, so I call it lab meeting, all right? So lab meeting 3, week 4 and 5, and that's going to be, we're going to do cat 5e termination plug. So this will be a JAG, this will be a plug, RG45 plug, and then that's going to be a short lab here. We're going to terminate a coaxial cable. There's not much to it. However, I still want you to go through the motions and physically touch that and be familiar with that. And the last 2 weeks, we're going to perform a fusion splice on optical fiber, and that's going to be only 1 lab, because when it comes to working with optical fiber, I have to supervise you one-on-one basis when it comes to that. You will see what it's actually a fun lab here. Okay, so these are the labs. All right, the logistics involved with the labs here. Each lab meeting equals 2 hours of in-class or in-person time. Due to the COVID-related room capacity restrictions, lab sections 1 and 2 will be subdivided into sections 1A and 1B and 2A and 2B. Each section will attend the lab meetings bi-weekly. For example, lab meeting 2, week 2, section A, or lab meeting 2, week 3 will be a section 1B. All right, we'll look at I'm pretty sure everybody looked at the schedule already. Lab 1 is an at-home activity, so there's no split needed for that. So that's why week number 1, everybody does that, okay? Now, detailed lab schedule A and B subsections will be provided. It actually is provided right now on our class portal. If somebody doesn't know how to find it, send me an email. The schedule will be organized by name and by date. Now, I already prepared the lab schedule subsections wise. If there is anyone that has joined um, um, recently and you don't see yourself on the list, by all means, send me an email as quick as you can so we can resolve the scheduling. What do we need to bring to the labs? Well, we need to bring, for sure, we need to bring safety glasses. Without safety glasses, there's no us being in the lab, right? So we need to do safety glasses. We do not need the safety boots for this class, but safety glasses, yes. And for the most part, I need you to bring just side cutters and not those little tiny ones that you use to, there's one thing that you strip the wire and then you cut that. Those will not cut the mustard. All right. You need to get full grip, those red handles, full grip side cutters or wire cutters. And Sharpie permanent marker. That's it. That's all I need from you. Okay. Everything else I'm going to provide. Also, at the end of this lecture, the last page, if you have already downloaded that, I made a little bigger list. So if you have those, you're going to be really, really sophisticated individual when you come to our labs, when it comes to that. All right. So, but for the most part, if you got your safety glasses and if you have your Sharpie, then we are good. Okay. So, so that's all I need. Everything else, punch down tools, tape, or anything else, I'll provide it for you. Right? Because punch down tool, for example, 110 punch down tool is $100. I'm not going to ask you to buy that. Another one is a big punch down tool is another $100. Not going to ask you to buy that. By the way, if you see in some sort of on some special a punch down tool that says $36.52, don't buy it, okay? Because you need the one that costs $100, okay? And if you buy the one that costs $36, you're still going to eventually or very quickly you're going to have to find out that you need that $100 tool. So that $100 tool is going to cost you $136. Okay, so all right, so we essentially go to our scheduled lab sessions every other week. Yes, that's correct. Okay. Now, okay, so personal protective equipment, PPE, and any other mandatory COVID-related PPE. So, well, right now, safety glasses is also, but we need safety glasses anyways. Even before COVID, we needed safety glasses in our labs. Okay. All right, so here is the list by name, right? If you don't see your name, let me know right away. Okay. Is 1A and 2 one section? Yes, so here's a section 1. And here's section 2, and I just did every second person. So all the odds and all the evens. So here's A group and here's B group. All right. And here's also A group, section 2, A group and B group. So you just find your name and you go, oh, I'm in section 2B, Dylan. Okay. All right. For example, I don't see my name. Louis. Uh-oh. Well, okay, good. Send me an email and I'll put you in there. You must have been not on the list when I was setting it up. All right. So send me an email and I'll correct that. Make a correct list here. Okay. All right. Cool. Now, here is the schedule. Week 1, 2, 3, and then from the previous slide, the date range. Okay, actually here, We got calendar, range, May 3, May 7, this is week 1. This is Monday, this is Friday. So Monday, May 10th or May 14th. May 14th be with you. No, May 4th be with you. That was a couple days ago, right? Star Wars date. All right. So what's May 14th be with you? Okay. Wow. It's the next version of Star Wars. Okay. So you will know subsection A, subsection B. So you'll see lab number 1, both subsections. Oh, everybody does it at the same time. And lab number 2, for example, so the week number 2, it's going to be sections A. So 1A and 2A attend, right? And next week is going to be the same labs, but the B sections are going to attend, 1B and 2B, and so on. You get the idea. What did I write here? Lab 1 is not separated into subsections because it's an out of class activity, at home activity. Can read my own writing. Okay, now instructions for the labs. Basically what I said, locate sections at biweekly. We went over that. Each lab section is 2 hours long. We went over that. Each lab section will be primed with a video demonstration posted on YouTube. And if you download this PDF, if you click on that, you're going to go right into the playlist of the YouTube. And usually what I do with my playlists on the YouTube, I put all the lecture notes on the top and I put all the labs on the bottom. Yeah? Or not lecture notes. Like for example, this here is going to be lecture number 1 or class number 1. It's going to be at the very top, followed by lecture number 2. And then after all the last lecture, there's going to be lab 1, lab 2, and so on. You must watch the lab demonstrations. It must be very important because somebody put that in red. Oh, wait a second. I put that in red. You must watch the labs demonstrations in order to be ready to perform those labs. See, before COVID, I would be seeing you every single week. And during that, we would have more time, so I will be able to do the demonstration in class. But then the minutes were ticking, okay? But now we have to do 2 labs during 1 2-hour lab sessions. We have to find a way of doing that. And actually, there's part of me that likes it this way better because I can show you a little bit more details when I'm doing the video lab demonstration. And then still, when we meet in person, if you're not sure about something, I can explain this to you. All right. Right. Tools. So somebody asked me about the tools. So here I go. Side cutters, not the miniature red strippers / cutters. These are too small. Must have the full grip ones. Sharpie, permanent marker, and all the other proprietary, there's a big word, tools and equipment will be provided in class. Yeah. And of course, was it PPE, safety glasses, all the other mandatory equipment, COVID related, and dated April. Okay, yeah, we just right now, as of now, we still have the no more than 10 students in a room. Okay. All right, I'm covering staying with myself here. All right, all labs deliverables due. Okay, 1 minute before midnight of the day before your next in-class lab session. Okay, so basically, for the most part, you're going to have 2 weeks to do every lab, except for the last one, because the last one, but it's going to be a simple one anyways. By the time we get to the last one, you're just going to be zooming through those. Okay, it's going to be, I don't know, 2-3 days for you to submit those. So yeah, but I will, with every lab that I'm marking, so you're gonna have to print those work orders, bring those work orders in, fill them out by hand, I'll sign them, and right then and there, I'll put the due date right on that lab. So here I left a little bit of a wiggle room for myself. 1 minute before the next class, not 1 minute before the midnight of the day before your next class begins, unless otherwise specified. Okay, so here's the wiggle room that I gave to myself. All right, lab reports. Okay, wait a second. We haven't done that yet. If you miss a lab, okay, so we don't have open lab sessions, but because we're going to have probably no more than 7 people at any given time, maybe 8 at some point, there could be a room for you to join another section, but here's the thing, we can't have more than 10 people. Right? So send me an email, make sure I approve your attendance for the joining another section if you want to do a makeup lab for something that you missed, but then again, try not to miss any labs. We're on a tight schedule here. Yeah? So the open lab sessions, I have solved it this way here. You can join another section, and but it has to be approved. Okay? And of course, you're gonna have to watch the video, but you have to watch the video regardless. Right? So that this is what I just said. Now, use this concept wisely. Complete your labs on time. If you miss multiple labs, you can find yourself in a difficult situation. Yeah, right? Lab reports. Lab reports must be filled by hand. You're going to photograph them with your cell phone and submit online along with other requested items such as images. And I can't say that enough times. We need to do the lab submissions, the deliverables, they have to be exactly as instructed. We're going to be practicing doing what we are asked to do in the real world, okay? Because right now, if you don't do exactly as according to the instructions, you're going to lose marks. In the real world, if you don't do as instructed, you are going to lose money or possibly your job. Okay, so I'm just going to try to kind of help you with the good habitual behavior development. Here's a mouthful, right? All right, so lab reports must be filled by hand. Okay, a lab report must be composed of a one PDF file according to the provided instructions. Do not send me a bunch of pictures of the pages because I'm not going to mark them. Okay? This is not what I asked. I asked you one PDF file. Right? Now, the instructions might vary for every lab, so read the instructions carefully. A lab report made of separate multiple files, which, as I said, will not be considered as valid lab and will not be marked. Okay? Each lab is worth 8.35% of the total course's weight. And then here's in red, again, all lab reports must be submitted by the end of week 7, which is June 18, Friday, 11:59 p.m. Because then I'm going to start entering the final marks. And if we're on a timeline here, okay, we only have so much time to complete everything that we need to complete. So if you're late with some of the submissions of the labs, I won't be able to mark them before I have to enter the final marks. Right? Hey, simple. Okay. All right, lab report preparation. Okay, so here's the thing. I made the deliverables. How to prepare the deliverables is a video here. It's elect 1013, but it's the same. It applies to us as well. Okay, that TELE 3013. Deliverables. How to prepare. It's 18-minute lab. I'm showing that how to prepare those lab deliverables using Photoshop and Microsoft Word. Now, you can do it any way you want. You don't have to use Photoshop. I think there's something new, relatively new. It's called GIMP or something. It's just like Photoshop, but it's a free version of something that looks like a Photoshop. And for the amount of processing that we need, you just need to resize the pictures, and make them kind of visible properly. That is also good. Or you can just use Homework Lab to do it quickly. Now, it might seem a little bit intimidating at first, or maybe not. But trust me, later on, before you know it, you're just going to be flying on that. And it's going to take you about maybe anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes to prepare the lab and just push it onto the submission mailbox. Okay. So just watch that video here. Okay. Now, yeah, so I said that Photoshop and Microsoft Word, you can choose a different, it's an optional thing. You can choose different ways of preparation as long as, okay, the final product has to be what it has to be. The file has to be clear, readable, and tidy. Also check the evaluation rubric. I'm going to show you how to do that. Basically, when you click on the submission box, the rubric is going to be one of the first things that pops. So look at the rubric, read it, see if you comply with everything that you're asked to do, so you don't lose marks. Yeah. And the file has to be in PDF format. There is some sort of a new format a few months ago that came out. I forgot the extension of that. It's some sort of like an iPhone format. I can't open that. So, plus I'm asking you to do the PDF format anyways. Now, page one, all pages within must be within, all pages must be within that PDF document, no multiple files. Page one contains the work order. We will go over that. Page two contains two separate tables. If you watched the video, then you will know what I mean exactly, but I'll show you anyways. The image requested on the top row and the label of the image in the lower row of the table for both tables. All other verbal instructions are fulfilled. So if I tell you something, make a note. I'll make sure that that I'm clear on some instructions, but there won't be much of those because pretty much everything is going to be written. All other evaluation rubrics criteria. So as I said, check the rubric before you submit. This YouTube video is labeled as Elect 1013, but it also applies to our course. Okay, so I made it once. I just call it something else. 1 week, 2 lab. Yeah, so during 1 week we're going to do 2 labs. That's yeah, but you have to watch those videos in order to know what to do. You have to know exactly what you're going to be doing once you enter the class. That way, we are going to be able to complete 2 labs in 1 session. The other way of going about it is cutting the labs in half. And I don't want to do that because I want to give you as much as I can possibly give you. So I don't want to rob you off the content. I'm trying to give you as much as I can so you can enter the workforce properly. All right. All right. So here is what the work order is going to look like. Here is a work order. Okay. So work order sign off. Now you can print a bunch of those and have them in your folder. They are going to be for pretty much every single lab is going to be the same, except for the coaxial cable. It's going to be one different work order, and I'll show you which one it is. This one is uploaded already. The one that is in the, okay, here, this one, here. I'm pointing in my finger. Okay. This one is already uploaded, so you can just print it and just have it with you. Okay. Now, if you don't bring your work order, I will sell you one in class, and the price is going to be usually something like 5 marks. Okay. All right, guy. All right. So I do not know how to fill this page for lab 1. I'll show you. Okay. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay. Good. All right. So here is, okay, we're going to go section by section. So first we're going to take care of the top section right here, this section here. So I'm going to, next slide is going to show you the top section. So here's a work order sign off, workstation number, put your workstation number. So the class is divided, the big, there's a big countertop in the middle of the class. and it has divisions, plexiglass divisions, and every workstation is numbered, labeled. A1, A2, A3, and so on, B1, B2. So, excuse me, write that down in this section here. If you do not write that down, it's just as if you left a mess in your workstation. Okay, it's equal to that. All right, now here is self-explanatory thing here. Lab number. So just I'm going to write down the lab number, and you're going to write down the lab title. Now here, deliverables must be, so here's a little bit of a disclaimer here. Deliverables must be uploaded to the designated Dropbox before the next consecutive lab begins, subject to automatic mark deductions. And it is 11:59 of the day before, but I will write that down on the lab itself. Purchase requisition number. You're not going to get that thing from me, but this is a number. It's just like a PO number, right? Purchase number or work order number, purchase PR number. It would be a number that you will be given by whoever hires you to do a certain job, whether it is a service call, installation, or whatnot. You don't get the PO number of the PR number. Different companies call it different, but it's basically it's a work order, it's a request number. You don't get that. You don't do the job, because if you don't get that purchase requisition number, nobody's going to pay you for it, doing the work. So what you're going to do is going to make something up. All right, just make sure you don't leave anything blank. Site name. You can put our college name here, or you can put anything. You can just put some sort of a store name or something. Don't leave it blank. All right. Site contact. Site contact is, yeah, you're welcome. Now, sorry, I'm just looking at this thing here. I think I spaced out when you mentioned this, but I also have to hand in the physical. Yeah, okay, we do have to hand that in. No, that's going to be the submissions. I will sign it in class, and you do the submitting at home, okay, or in homework lab. We use the electronic drop boxes, okay, submission boxes. Right? So site contact. What is a site contact? That's the person that you talk to whenever you go to do a service call or installation. Right? If you do a service call in a large department store, you walk into that store and you go to whatever the customer service, or walk up to one of the cash registers, or whatever the procedure would be, and you ask if there's a manager on duty. You came to do some work here, you need to see the manager on duty. There's always a manager on duty, excuse me, somebody who basically oversees the whole store. They're going to come to you and they will know what needs to be done, right? Because there's some cash register that has no communication or something. Yeah, I know, that's, yeah, I made the call, blah, 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 here. Oh, so you're going to write that person's name. Make up some name. You can put my name if you want. Site number, just make up some number. City and province, you can put our city and province here, or state if you're working in the States. The idea is to not leave anything not touched. Anything that there's some input required, you put some information there. If the information is not there to put in, you just write a dash or put N/A for not applicable. Right? But do not leave anything blank. You leave something blank, I will take your marks off. And I'm telling you right now, and you will know. Right? Okay, now we're going to move down that page. So we're still working on this page right here. So now we're going to go to this section. Okay. Right, site acceptance, customer signature, and customer's name. So this usually would be the manager on duty, or whoever. You could have different names, because you could come over and do a service call, and it would take you 2 hours to complete your job or 1 hour to complete it. On that time, the first manager on duty could go home and then another one could take over. So somebody has to receive your job. So, okay, yeah, now it works. I agree. You know, our company is going to pay for it. So once you release the job, you have to be acknowledged by somebody, right? So be a customer signature and customer name. This will be my name right here. And this will be my signature. You have to make sure that my name is here, my signature is here, and the date is here. You can write my name here. You can write the date. You just can't sign for me. Only I can sign for myself, all right? But it is your job to make sure that this is filled out properly. If you go to do any kind of a job, service call or installation, whoever is in that store, whoever is on that site, it's not their job to know your procedures. It's your job to know your procedures because you're going to be the one who wants to get paid for it. So you make sure that things are filled out properly. You cannot sign for me. You can put my name here, print my name, but you cannot sign for me. You cannot. That would be forging. Right? Only I can sign. Signature will be mine. Right? Forging is illegal, by the way. Right? Illegal means that it's not legal. So no, you cannot sign for me. All right. I think we'll bring this lab to our first section. You can get, yeah. Now, in lab 1, okay, you can put your name and sign for yourself because it's an at-home activity, of course, unless you want me to make appointments to go to your home and do the signature. I wonder how that would go. No, right? So the first lab, you put your name here and you can sign it, okay? No, leave nothing blank. Leave nothing blank, right? Sign your name or sign somebody's name and they have to sign it. But the big, the best thing would be just put your name and sign it here, but don't leave it blank, all right? Service company, you can put our college here, or you can make up a company name, just don't leave it blank, all right? Now, service completion verification or completion verification ticket number. I wanted to put that here because quite often, there's a phone ring here, okay? So somebody's going to answer that. Okay, there we go. Now, here is the quite often what you're going to have to do is the whole signature and acknowledgement. Sometimes it's two-tiered. What I mean by that, like for example, there will be company that services all the department stores like Home Depot or Rona or Lowe's or some grocery stores, whatever it is. Okay, there's a company somewhere in the States or in Canada that has a contract to service those companies. Those are the guys who would be sending you the work order. And those are the guys who are going to pay you, right? So you have to fulfill the requirements of filling out the work order properly so you can get paid, or your boss gets paid and then the boss pays you. Now, what quite often is some of the duties are split. Like for example, there's a company called Bailiwick in the States that services all the Home Depots. Right? Once you perform the job that needs to be done, something had to be repaired. Okay, Ethernet jack doesn't work, you replaced it, or some kind of a wire was cut and you basically replace the wire. What the procedure is that still before you leave the site, you're going to have to call Cisco. Okay, and Cisco is going to log into that cash register or whatever the device remotely. They're going to perform whatever the tests they're going to perform on their own. And they're going to acknowledge, yes, I see what I'm supposed to see. I agree, this thing is fixed. Here is your ticket number, 5275, blah, 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 right? That thing, and my name is so-and-so. That is that the company who gave you the work order is going to look for that to confirm that the job was done. Otherwise, they won't pay. Right? So I just wanted to put that thing on. Right? Not always is like, it's not always like that, but it's a common practice. Yeah? So see, you're learning something right now that you're actually going to use in the work field. So yeah, so verified by, so here's a customer signature, completion verified by, yeah, okay, completion verification ticket, yes, technician number 1, that would be you. And sometimes there's more than one, there are more than one people, more than one person being sent to do the job. So that will be a name that will be placed for technician number 2. If you need more, if there's a group or something, there will be a different work order. Now, technician, so that's your name. You have to put your name here. You have to put technician number 2 name. And if you were the only one who was doing the job, which is going to be our labs, you just put a dash through it or put NA for not applicable. Yeah, nothing blank. All right. Technician number 2, yeah, blank. I mean dash, right? Or not applicable. Date, okay, same here. Don't leave anything blank. That means you had, if you acknowledge everything, that means you have looked at everything. Okay. Technician number 2 signature, of course, you're going to leave a dash here, and technician number 1, you're going to have to sign it. Right. Now, tech 1 time in and time out. You can put the lab times. Let's say our lab starts at 1 p.m. and stops at 3 p.m. just for example, or something like that. Just put those times, or you can make something up. Yeah. And then if you had to travel, so quite often we have service calls or installations. They're in different cities. Like for example, from London, you're going to drive to Windsor. That's 2 hours. You're going to put that time in, the travel time. And you're going to put 2 hours one way and 2 hours the other way. Some cheap companies, they say that we only pay you one way to get. You got to get yourself back, and you have to understand that. I try to avoid working for those companies because your time is your time, and they're making money on you. So all the companies who are listening to me right now, please pay your people money for them doing their job. Okay, don't be like that. Okay, be a normal person. Don't rob people of their money. It's their money. It's their time. Okay, I just got myself going. All right. So and then you're going to do the math, total number of total hours on site, total travel hours, and you're going to do the math and add them on, and this would be the hours that you are going to get paid for if you are working right now. Okay, so we're pretending right now you're going to get, not going to get paid by me. You're actually paying me, so I can teach you. All right. Now, description of work. I'm going to give you some suggestions on the board during the first few. It's a point form. There's not much room here for you to write things. So the idea is not to write a story. The idea is to very precisely in the point form list the things that you have done. And I'm going to give you some examples on the board of what to put in, and later on you're going to get the feel of it, and you're going to do it yourself. Right? Materials used, do not list the tools that I had to use a screwdriver, I had to use side cutters. No, just list the tools that can be sold and built for. Yeah? So, and again, I'm going to give you some suggestions on the whiteboard in the class of what to put there. Yeah? Okay, so here's the bottom of this first page. This is a what normally we're going to use. And this is the bottom of the coaxial cable lab that we're going to use. There are some questions to be answered here. But the regular work order is jack ID, device type, switch ID, and what's that one there? Network switch port number. When you do service calls, a lot of times you're going to service data equipment, and data equipment involves cabling that is plugged into things, and those things are usually patch panels that are labeled certain way. There would be data jacks on the location side that are labeled certain way, and there would be switches that are labeled, and there will be switch ports that are labeled. So quite often you're going to be asked to write all those down, right? If it's a service call that is something else, obviously you're not going to write something that doesn't exist, but then again, leave nothing blank. For most part, we're going to just practice writing things, either drawing a dash right through it, like a line, or writing not applicable. Make sure that every field is acknowledged. If you just do the dashes on the top row, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 bottom fields left blank. Marks deducted. Okay. Now, cable test results saved or not, or photos taken and attached as per request. Pretty much always we're going to take photos. I'm going to ask you to take photos. So you're going to say yes, right? Now, sometimes we're going to perform cable test results with our job, with our work. And sometimes we're not going to perform the cable tests. Make sure it's a true representation of what we did. And the reason for that is, and here, the cable tests and the photos, write what you should write. If you do not perform, if there was no testing performed, like the signal connectivity or the signal testing was not performed on our job, then say no, right? If you took the photos as per request, say yes. If you didn't take the photos, do not say yes. And the reason for that is, it's actually a big one here. The person who is going to receive those work orders, that's all they do all day. They receive hundreds of work orders, and they just process them. And then they see, okay, they're going to see, all right, so there's photos included. Where are those photos? Is it a separate file? Is it this? Is it that? And they're going to waste time trying to look for it. And some of them will look for it, and they're not going to find it. They are not going to be happy with you, and your boss is going to hear it, and you're going to hear it from your boss. So just make sure that, or sometimes that this whole work order is going to be rejected because, yeah, he says that there are photos, but the photos are not there. You know, where I'm not going to waste my time. I got another 200 work orders to process, so reject. Okay, so be very careful what you put here. And just to reflect on that, if you just put wrong information, I'm going to say deceiving information equals 1 blank field. I love those songs for the rings. Anyways, okay. It's an office environment, so sometimes we're going to hear some phone rings. Okay. All right, so now when it comes to the coaxial cable, we're going to have to answer some questions, and now we will go over that, okay, once the time comes. Bring the proper work order for the proper labs. Now, tools, basic screwdrivers, which would be, okay, yes, I said just bring the side cutters or wire cutters and Sharpie. You will be fine with that. But if you bring all the rest with you, you are going to be the dude, all right, or dudette. So it'll be common for wiring, commonly used tools, basic screwdriver sets, which would include Phillips screwdriver and flathead, or sorry, slotted screwdriver. We shouldn't call it a flathead because flathead refers to a screw, flathead screw. So slotted screwdriver, Robertson, and that's pretty much it. And then the miniature screwdrivers as well, sometimes for terminals connections, side cutters, needle nose pliers. Sometimes we need those as well. But for our labs, if you just bring the side cutters and the Sharpie, you're good. I just listed these here in case you get some sort of a summer job or get hired by someone to do some wiring. It's a good idea if you have that in your tool pouch at least. Okay, and another thing would be having electrical tape as well, because we use that a lot. All right, and of course we need safety glasses. Okay? So here is the first part of our class. Now we're just going to quickly jump into the second part. Where is that? Here. All right. Now, structured cabling. We went over this already. We went over the definition. Now, here it is. A planned cabling system which systematically lays out wiring and wire management necessary for communications, including voice, data, and video. So planned cabling, which systematically lays the wiring. Sometimes you're going to come across things like this, and it's not so uncommon. Okay. But what are you going to do? Argue with people? You're there to do the job, find the proper thing, fix it, and leave and get paid for it, right? Once you get used to seeing things that need to be done properly, and you're going to see something that is messed up, client might ask you to clean it up for them. So you may do it, but for money. Okay, like for example, this thing here. What was the first one here? Yeah. Come on. I get this thing. All right. So here was the before and after. I asked the client, do you want this thing to be cleaned up? Yes. Oh, it's going to cost you so much. Yeah, but can you do it? So, okay. So it took me about a whole day to do this, right? Because sometimes it takes time. But before and after, much better. Okay. So that's why I said sometimes you're going to get into a messy wiring and you are going to have to work with it. But as I said, once you get the feel of what you're supposed to see, you're going to find it right away. But there's another, and by the way, this picture is a picture that I took from one of the service calls that I was doing. There's another picture I took from another service call I was doing. Sometimes you're going to see wiring like this. This is from a basement of one of the huge malls somewhere in GTA, and I'm not going to tell you where that is. I know where it is, but I'm not going to say it. It's a huge mall, all the communications, and this thing was installed sometime around 70s, because it still uses something that's called a 66 blocks, and we'll go over those too. And I need to move one store from one location to another across the hallway because there was a construction going on and they needed to occupy another location, but it was just across the hallway in the mall. So that there's a 50-foot ceiling or something like that, not going to run wires. So I had to find all the wiring that comes to this place here from one store, and I had to find all the wiring that comes to this room from the other location, and I just had to do the switcheroo from one thing to the other. I had to mark and label everything. I think these are my labels here. Or is it this one here? Actually, there's one here, and there's the other one. There's both. I had to find, among all this wiring, I had to find where those two locations are, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually pretty simple. first, if you look at this, if you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't know what you're doing, this could be just a big wiring mess. But if you know what you're doing, yes, you can find things pretty quickly, and you can make yourself look very smart, just like me. Anyways, okay, I have the other notes. Where are these notes? Yeah, these are under the student items. Okay, I'll show you later. All right, and sometimes you're going to, wow, this is a Google data center in Oklahoma. I got this picture of the internet, okay? So sometimes you're going to work in similar situations like this. So you have some fiber going on, the fiber optics, you have some copper going on here, and some more fiber. There's a copper patch panels and a lot of copper going back there. And over here, what you have, okay, on the top, you have something that's cabling tray, but there's not much going in there. Maybe there's some more at the other side, but also you have something that's called a raised floor. So there will be about a foot deep underneath these tiles, and you use suction cups with handles on it to lift those up, and there's a lot of wire going underneath this raised floor. So sometimes you get to work with things like this. Sometimes you get to work with things like this, and sometimes you work with things like this. The money is just the same. You get paid for it, and so you can buy the same thing, whether you work in either environment. It's a good idea to know all of them. Safety. I'm not going to go over this. I'm going to encourage you to read, because I prepared that a couple of years ago. Read through all these safety briefing here, and be sure that I'm going to, because this is quite self-explanatory here, okay? I'm going to have questions on the tests that I'm going to throw in from these safety briefing here, all right? It's very self-explanatory here. I don't need to go over that and talk about this. All right, let's see what else we have here after the safety. Course overview, theory and labs, 7 weeks, altogether 28 hours. We have 2 hours of theory every week, and everyone is getting 2 hours of lab every week. Plus there's going to be assignment, all right? Now, when you download this here, Network Telecom Career and Network Telecom Career Part 2, I found those cool YouTube videos on YouTube that was going to give you a little bit more overview of what this business is all about. Right? It's not just running a wire from one point to another. You need to have a good laptop. You need to have a bunch of diagnostic tools and so on. And not everybody can do it. It is a room. This type of field has a lot of room that you can expand and be satisfied personally and professionally. Okay. Now, the labs are going to be bi-weekly. Excuse me, hold on. Okay, so bi-weekly labs, face-to-face, we talked about that. Weekly lectures, must attend, punctuality. Sometimes I'm going to lock the doors after 5 minutes, depending on what the lab is. But let's assume that all the time the doors are going to be locked, because if you are late, sometimes you're going to miss the safety briefing, and I won't be able to do that for you, because then I'm gonna have to leave all the people that I'm attending that came on time just to attend you, to give you the safety briefing of the lab, and then you come in, and then 3 minutes later somebody else comes in. So no, let's just be within 5 minutes. Let's be in the, and then we can lock the doors. So be on time, because if you're late and I have to lock the door, you are going to put me in a very uncomfortable situation or position that I have to lock the door and not let you in. and I don't want to do that. And if you put me in that uncomfortable situation, then I'm not going to feel guilty. The joke is on you. All right. We're all friends here. Okay. So punctuality, lecture notes will be posted on FOL weekly after. So there's with this lecture, there's a posted notes, all the PowerPoint or the slideshow is going to be pushed. It's already available for you to download. And this video is going to be uploaded on our YouTube playlist. Where the playlist is, go to announcements, and it's always going to be there. So you can find that. And it's going to keep populating as we go along, of course. All right. This is a blended or hybrid delivery, but this is not an online course. Yeah. It's a blended course. It's originally it's meant to be, and it is set up as to be in-person course, but because of the COVID thing that we had to go, some of the content was moved online, such as these theory lectures. And trust me, I do miss being in the classroom in person, but we have to do our part. Significant volume of the content will be introduced verbally or kinesthetically. Kinesthetically means hands-on. All right. Please attend all classes and make your own notes as well. As far as attending classes, yeah, you know what? You don't have to attend the classes, but you're not going to get the content. And when you go to work, nobody's going to pay you for having okay marks. They're going to pay you for what you can do. And I'm going to try to give you as much as I possibly can. So work with me on this one here. Test materials will come from posted lecture notes, this PDF format, recorded lecture video materials, which is recording this thing right now, your own notes, and the lab experience. So now our tests are going to be all online. And for that reason, I am adjusting those questions, the online questions, accordingly. What do I mean by that? I'm adjusting the difficulty of those questions, that I'm going to ask you way more detail on these questions than I normally would if it was in class person. So it's going to be open book test, but quite often you're going to find yourself that you have to look for the information through the posted notes, or maybe have to make notes from the videos, or maybe rewatch the video or something like that. So try to attend those classes as much as possible, because yes, you can think, all right, I don't have to attend the class, I can watch the video later, and then 3 weeks later you have 3 2-hour videos to watch, and when it comes to the test, oh, I have so many hours to watch, so I can write the test. And trust me, my tests are written in such a way that if you don't know your stuff, you're going to get a poor mark. Okay, even if it's an open book, an online test. All right. Okay. Academic integrity. You probably see this thing. You have seen this thing multiple times. I'm not going to go over that. Just basically, I'm going to tell you, do not cheat. If you get caught, it's going to be an academic offense, and it's going to be dealt with as academic offense. Also, if you're cheating, I don't have to tell you, you're cheating your own self. You go to work, you're not going to get paid for having okay mark. You're going to get paid for what you can do. And trust me, the employers are going to watch you, and they're going to have people watch you as you start your work to see what kind of person you are, whether it's good to keep you working or not. All right. So that's as far as cheating. You're not going to cheat me. I know how to do this stuff. I'm trying to give you the knowledge of how to do this stuff. All right. So this was one of the stores. Can you see what the story was? It says Dollar Tree. That was a Dollar Tree somewhere up north that we sent. Now this job here, basically that's how the job starts. You get the equipment shipped on the skids. You have to count everything, make sure that nothing is missing. And then after a while, you unpack it and install it, unpack it and install it according to what the instructions are. And then you get paid for it. So it starts like this. And then after about a few days, it looks like a full-blown store with all the cash registers and all the offices and everything else working properly. So let's begin. Have a wonderful term. And that was the last slide. Yeah, so this job, if I can tell you, it's good for someone who is okay with doing occasional travel once in a while. What I have done over 30 years being in this field, a lot of the jobs would be done locally. A lot of the jobs would be done out of the normal scope of hours. It will be after hours because sometimes you need to do some wiring around the offices and whatnot, and sometimes you have to work the loud equipment. So quite often you're going to be asked to do the job after hours, which means to be not all the time, but sometimes you have to do work at night, and sometimes you're going to be sent. I've been sent to BC. I've been sent to Alberta. I've been sent to Saskatchewan. Worked all over the place, pretty much. Um, and they pay your plane ticket, they pay your hotel bills and all that stuff, if you know how to do these things. So occasional travel, yes, it's involved in this kind of a job, right? All right. Any other questions? We're kind of wrapping up right now. We didn't take a break. I apologize, but this is an online thing, so sometimes if you miss something, if you need to go to the washroom or get yourself a fresh coffee or something, you can come back and rewatch this part on YouTube, which is going to be posted. Are there any questions involved with what we just talked about? C1A, could you re-upload? Oh, the C1A is not. Yeah, I will do that. Can I do it now? Yeah, I'll do it right after that. Yeah, I will upload both of them. It's not uploading, eh? Okay, we'll do that. I might have to, if I delete that, I'm going to change maybe one character or something like that. See, maybe I'm going to put a double dash just to change the name a little bit so it doesn't have any residue. So give me about 15 minutes or so after we finish this class here. All right. Any other questions? Thank you. Yeah. Mm, if you come up with any kind of questions, by all means, email me. And sometimes if you want to talk about something that have to do with these, maybe you are actually wiring something and you come up across some obstacles. I've been 30 years on this job. Pretty much, I think I'm going to have a solution for you. All right. So that's good. All right. So I'll see some of you next week in the labs. And if I don't, I'm going to see you a week from now. All right. Thank you. It was a good time. And I'll see you when I see you. Great.